Welcome back, everybody. Bro Sanchez speaking. And today I'm going to be answering the question, why do the constellations and the moon appear upside down from the southern hemisphere? Now, this southern hemisphere that we speak of is only theoretical in the sense that we know it. And you will see why I say that in a second. Now, this what we're about to get into is a big misconception, and it's a big thing that's going on with the flat earth, globe earth situation right now. Now, this is an interesting situation at this time because we understand that there's a UN treaty, and it's one of the longest treaties in world history with over 42 countries, world powers, and they're guarding something at the North Pole and also what we're referring to as Antarctica. Now, whatever they're guarding is something that will change the world as we know it, people. It's something very major. Now, I got videos coming in the future on that. Today, we're just going to answer this simple question, and it's going to be a real quick video. And before I get into it, let me just say shout out to the globe earthers and the flat earthers, because I understand the passion that comes along with a person's ideology. This thing can seem tense because, like I always tell y'all, science is a form of religion. And you know, they got religious wars. That's how tense religious can get. We know how much of a touchy subject that is. So we see that happening with science at this time, proving that science is a form of religion. Now, today I'm going to be showing y'all an experiment I did in the garage that's going to answer the question, why do the constellations and the moon appear upside down from the southern hemisphere? Hopefully this will help the community move forward so we can go on and get the facts on the table and start looking at the big enemy, who is the government. Now, this video is made with love and to get some more clarity on the facts here that we see. So what's going on is, if you're looking at the pictures in front of you real quick, it just shows how Orion would look from the southern hemisphere as opposed to the northern hemisphere. And what we've been taught by scientists is that the reason this is this way is because we are on a globe. So if you see in this picture here, it shows the same thing, where if you look at the moon phases, you can see the differences from the northern hemisphere and the southern hemisphere. You can see that basically everything in the northern hemisphere is reversed in the southern hemisphere. Now, what scientists are saying is that all of this is this way is because we are indeed on a globe. So I'm going to prove to y'all right now that this phenomena of people seeing the stars upside down in the southern hemisphere really has nothing to do with being on a globe. And I'm going to also prove that that phenomena that we experience in our reality actually is because we're indeed on a flat earth. And I'm going to also prove that that phenomena would also be way more difficult to happen in our reality if the mechanisms of our cosmology were as NASA say. So if the moon was spinning slowly and the earth was spinning and rotating and revolving around the sun while the sun is moving, what we see as far as the consistency with the same stars the ancestors saw in this phenomena where we get the mirror images in different parts of the planet, it can be explained better on a flat earth than on this globe model. So what you're looking at in front of you now is a circle that's representative of the moon. And I have numbers on it, 1, 2, 3. That's going to represent like the craters or some points of reference, what we can refer to. So that'll be like the craters. Okay, so imagine now that I'm in the northern hemisphere. Now, this is how we see the moon in the sky. All right, we only see one face at a time from our perspective whenever it's out. Okay, so if the moon was out right now, this is an example of what we would see. Okay, we would see one face toward us, two-dimensional, if you will, because we don't see a sphere when we look at the moon. We see one circle with features on it. Supposedly, according to NASA, the way the moon and the earth operate in a nutshell, the moon is rotating, but the speed of the moon in relation to the earth's activity creates this phenomena where they move in sync in sort of a way where the movement of them both is so synced that we can only see this one side of the moon even though they're moving. So I hope you guys understand what I'm saying. So the moon is moving, but the way it's moving, it's in unison with the Earth's pattern, creating the one-sided moon situation that we experience. Now, this is the way we see the moon. This is important. They say that this phenomena is only possible on a globe. Well, this experiment right here is just to prove that that's not the case, because this room is indeed a square. We're in a square room. Every part of this room is flat. The moon that you see up there is just how you would see it in the night sky. And where I'm standing now would be the northern hemisphere. Now I'm going to walk toward the door, and we're going to turn around and look up, and what we will see is that we see the moon in reverse. So this is what people in the southern hemisphere would see. It's the same moon in the same location, but based on where they're at, the three would be at the top, pointed toward you, and this is representative of what you would see in the southern hemisphere. And again, if we go back here to the northern hemisphere, you can see that the three is pointing away from you now and is at the bottom. So same picture in the same position, but when this is above your head, this is the effect that we get in our actual reality. So that proves that what I'm showing you now can very well be exactly what's going on in our reality, but instead of the earth moving, which would be me, because right now I'm moving, okay, showing you different locations when I move. But we're talking a stationary earth, and if the moon was actually moving based on where you at, each person opposed to it on their location at any opposition will see the mirror of it, and it will give this north and south contrast that we see in the hemispheres, but on a stationary earth and the moon going on its pattern, and it will work perfectly. In fact, this really explains our reality very perfect as far as the moon go, and the faces of it as far as the seeing the same face. Let's move on. So people, this is very, very, very simple, all right? This is very simple, all right? And it's not because we're on a globe. In fact, if we were on a globe, this would be difficult. And I'm going to show you that before we close out the video. But before we move to that, let's just look at this some more, because this is simple. This is what we see in our reality. The people in the northern hemisphere say, hey, we see this part, and on our part of the quote-unquote globe, and the people in the southern hemisphere over here like, hey, we're looking at the bottom of the moon from the southern hemisphere. No, that's not the way it works. In fact, this would work better on a flat earth, people, just like I'm showing you right now. And it'll happen the same way with the stars. So if we can imagine around this paper, if there were constellations all around here, it would be the same way. You just reverse based on where you at, okay? Based on where you at. It's simple, people.
Now, what you're looking at now is NASA's cosmology. Just keep that in mind. This is NASA. So what you're seeing in it is, if the moon never rotated, this is what we would get, okay, is what you're seeing now. And this is showing if the moon did rotate. And what it's basically showing is different ways how it could play out if the moon were a sphere and if the earth were a globe. Now, the final model that NASA agreed on for years is the one you're seeing now, and they're saying that the moon is synced, as you can read here in the caption. So the way the moon spin in its relation to the earth and its rotation and revolution is so perfect. It's so perfect, according to NASA, that we only see one side of the moon. But that can't be true, because if you also look at the model they give us, what I'm showing you here, that pretty little demonstration that I just showed you with the perfectly synced moon just wouldn't apply on this model. So when it all boils down to it, their theories just don't add up to be facts. And that's how we end up stuck with just theories today. What I just demonstrated in this simple experiment makes way more sense than what we're seeing in NASA claims. So in this moon model, it's just another example of the reverse effect that we see in our reality. And I demonstrated how simply that's achieved with the movement of the celestial bodies and the viewpoint of the person proportion and perspective to that body. So again, you can see in this one, just another reverse example, depending on where you are, how you would see the moon on this one. And also we see this one, Orion, how it would be in reverse. Just the same thing, okay? We see that NASA's theories don't add up to facts. That's how we end up stuck with theories. But a lot of people laugh at what's different, and that's called cognitive dissonance. But it makes perfect sense, and it makes far more sense than what we've been given from the compulsive liars. And another thing is that we shouldn't defend these compulsive liars. None of us should be defending them. We should be all challenging them. Okay, now the moon could very well be a disc above your head, and if you don't think that's real, you need to understand the holographic nature of the sky and think about this experiment that I just showed you. A lot of this stuff sound weird to you guys, but the ancestors understood it, and the stuff that we have today, if the ancestors heard about it, they would say it's very, very weird. I mean, with stuff flying around and all of this stuff, and it clearly doesn't make sense, people. We have to question our government. So let's move on here. So people, what did we just prove here with this experiment? We proved that what we see in our reality, as far as the placement of the stars in certain areas across the planisphere, is based on the fact that we are on a flat surface. Now, before we get into why this would be far more difficult on the globe model, let me just say some things to all of the diehard globulars out there. Flat earthers are attacking NASA, not globe earthers. Globe earthers are just in the way. Flat Earth is not a psyop that stopped humanity's revolution. In fact, Flat Earth asked the questions to the powers that would spark the revolution and force the government to answer these very important questions. The nature of our reality is one of the most important aspects to our existence. And the farther we investigate NASA, the more inconsistencies and deception that we find, and we realize that the creator is literally being hidden. So I just want people to realize that when we say that it's a psyop, that word was put on the term flat earth by the government, because this is the knowledge right here that they have dreaded, that they have feared for the longest, people. It is finally here. Now let's talk about why the experiment we just did was perfect on the flat earth model and how it would be far more difficult on the globe model. Now let me throw one thing out there, that one deception we see with NASA, with the whole situation they give us with our earth and moon. One thing that don't make sense right off the bat is they tell us the moon is falling toward the earth, yet they say the universe is expanding and all things are constantly separating as they travel on throughout this dark void. So think about that one, okay? They tell us that the moon is falling toward the earth, but yet they say the universe is expanding. And that's really impossible, because if the universe is expanding, the moon would have to be expanding too, meaning it'll be pulling away from the earth. But NASA tells us that according to their science, that the moon is actually falling toward the earth. So, you know, you guys can research that on your own. That's just one thing that I find is very, very strange. Now, it's very simple why this would be much more difficult on their model. If you look at this demonstration in front of you of the solar system, and if you think about our reality real hard, what I just showed you with the experiment, okay, based on where you at, how you see the moon, think about it. If the earth is stationary and the celestial bodies are moving, the experiment that I just showed proves to be the nature of our true reality. However, if you're looking at this model in front of you, ask yourself, how would that be possible? How would that consistency be possible with everything you see going on in this model? Okay, the earth is rotating and revolving. The moon is rotating and revolving. And the sun is dragging everything through its revolution around the black hole sun in the center of the supposedly Milky Way. This is what they give us. But yet we see the perfect balancing of the stars, and we see the same constellations in the sky that the ancestors saw. If the universe was the way we're looking at now, then we should be seeing new constellations. We should be moving into new areas and seeing new stuff in the sky. We're constantly traveling through the universe. Then there should be things appearing. There should be different parallaxes or different perspectives or viewpoints in the night sky shouldn't be as consistent as it have been throughout the beginning of creation. So that's very simple, while it'll be far more difficult on the heliocentric model, but it works perfectly on the ancient cosmology. Now, this ancient cosmology that we see is very consistent by many cultures all around the world, and you can see these beautiful depictions, and also you will see full stones that they carved of this model of our cosmology, people. You will see it carved in stone, and you will see whole blocks of this thing carved where our ancestors revered this model that we mock and reject today. So one thing I want you to realize before we get out of here is that globe earth, flat earth, we all have to be mature about the way we come to our disagreements, because they're gonna happen, and we're on the right page. Hopefully we're all trying to still, expose the deception of the higher ups, because that's what we need to keep in mind, and that'll help keep everything on track. Sometimes we can look for knowledge, out of ego, but we should always look for that knowledge to go against the powers that be, because that's what all of us set out to do in the beginning anyway. But we can't get distracted. So that distraction is the real psyop. We're all brothers and sisters, no matter what our ideologies are. But I do want to share with you guys that I am a flat earther. I'm sorry if I offended any globe earthers, but we just on a search for truth here. And we're not trying to really go against our brothers and sisters who are globe earthers. We're trying to expose NASA. And it really hurts me personally to see a lot of our brothers and sisters come in NASA's defense, because we come a long way with exposing the government's deception. And you would think all of the lies that we get from these guys, that even if we didn't see eye to eye on this thing, we can agree that, hey, I'm pretty sure some is jacked up about it, so check into it. But I'm gonna wrap this video up, and I just want to say much love to everybody under the sound of my voice. I had to get this whole situation out the way, and as we go into this thing, I know there's gonna be a lot of more things that I'm gonna have to go into, so don't worry, I will. Anybody have any questions or any videos that you have concerning things like this, let me know, and I can show you guys how it works on the flat earth model, because most of the time we cancel it out without actually doing simple experiments like what I just showed you. People, flat earthers are not crazy mad maniacs. Okay, now a lot of people are calling us flat brains, flat pancakes, flat retards and all of that. It's cool, okay? But I just want to remind y'all, we are human beings. We're not stupid people, and we question the government in areas most people wouldn't, and we found great deception. And once you see the nature of our true reality, it's beautiful, people, okay? And now I want to put this in your mind, and I'm gonna sign off, that when you are in a world that's insane, which is our situation, the world has gone insane with the way we treat this creation based on our viewpoint and our perspective. When you are in an insane world and everything is backwards, then the people who society calls insane would be the smart people in that society. I want you to ponder deeply on what I just said, because flat earthers are being mocked like the Christ in the Bible right now, and it takes a lot of courage to stand up and tell the truth and go against NASA. We are in an insane world today where everything is backwards. Insanity is the norm. So if someone sane comes along in an insane world, they're going to stand out, and they're actually going to be the abnormal ones. Okay, just like if you were in the all sane world and someone insane came, they would be the madman. All the sane people would be like, wow, he's uncivilized. Well, if you're in an insane world and all of those people are saying, hey, those people over there are insane, then those are really the sane people. Think about it, people. All right. So I hope I solve one more problem that we've been clashing with in this community. That way we can move on and put some more pieces on the puzzle board so we can keep the fire on NASA, because this is very important, people. So stay tuned. New uploads every Thursday, and I do a video during the week also. So stay tuned. Please like, share, and subscribe. Peace and much love.